The bulls continue pushing higher, trying to keep the Santa rally alive. Now they have one more test in front of them. Can they pass it? Find out next on Invest with Jacob. Okay, guys, it's officially the last trading day before the Christmas break, and I just want to say thank you, and I'm very grateful to all of you who take the time to watch, share, like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. It means a lot to me. I never thought I'd be here in just under a year, and I really do appreciate it. Even you haters who come in and leave your trolling comments, because you have to watch the ads to see what I say, and I appreciate that contribution. Anyway, sincerely, from my family to yours, I hope you have a happy, healthy holiday break. Okay, guys, so the bulls pushed higher again today, making the bullish count that much more probable. Now, they do have one more test to pass, and that's going to be a pullback coming up here very shortly. And as long as that holds support, it is off to the races. Now, I'll get into that in just 1 second. But first, if you're new here, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the S&P 500. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, so the bulls pushed it about 40 points higher today, and then after hours, they hit the target we were looking for. They can still push it a little bit higher, but they should be pulling back soon to test support. And as long as they hold that support, it's up we go. So let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay, guys, here we are on the 1 hour futures chart. And today we're going to talk about the two paths we're tracking as well as pivot zones. Pivot zones are really important when you're in a wave 3 because they help you establish support and resistance zones and help you understand that the wave 3 is tracking properly and where to set your stops, quite frankly. Okay, so when you're tracking a wave 1 off of a low, so we got a low down here and we're trying to get a wave 1 up, it's very difficult to track one because it's kind of filling out in real time. You don't have a lot of targets, and you're just kind of waiting for the market to give you 5 waves up so that you can establish a wave 1 high. Now, wave 1, once it's in place, does give us a little bit more information because we could start to set targets for a pullback in wave 2. And assuming we hold that support in wave 2 and then start higher again, we can start putting in our pivot zones. Okay, so our pivot zones start with our major market pivot. And the reason it's a major market pivot is that you go from the low to the high of wave 1, this bigger wave 1, down to the low of this bigger wave 2. Okay? Now, all pivot zones are the 0.618 and 0.764 fib extension of waves 1 and 2. Not this one, now any wave 1 and 2, okay? When I'll show you here in just a second how all that works. But just know that all pivot zones are the 0.618 to 0.764 extension of any 1 and 2, whether it's a bigger 1 and 2 or a smaller 1 and 2, okay? So you draw your trend-based fib extension from the low up to the high of wave 1, which you can see I did here, and then down to the low of wave 2, and that gives you your fibs. And we can see on the chart here the 618 to the 764 is our major market pivot, and that comes in at 46.7675 for the 618 and 47.1350 for the 764. Now, if you were in my trading room today, you know that I said that 46.77 was a major resistance point. Part of it is because it's the bottom of the major market pivot, but it's also the top of this minor market pivot, which I'll show you in just a second. So that 46.77 area was a very tough area to get through. You can see there were several bars that hit it and failed. Finally, it pulled back and then pushed back through up toward our target. So the major market pivot is the bigger waves 1 and 2. As wave 3 is filling out, we continue to draw pivots off of the 1-2s because we want to set our expectations for what the wave should do and our support levels. The pivot starts as resistance, and then once the market has moved through the pivot, that pivot now becomes support, okay? So as you're moving up and you get the smaller, okay, 1 of 3, 2 of 3 in place, okay, we can draw a pivot off of that. So we draw our line up to there and then down, and that gave us the pivot we had yesterday, and that was right here. You can see we hit our head all the way across here, had trouble getting through the whole night, finally pulled back, and then today pushed through this minor pivot and moved higher, okay? So once you get that, guess what? There's another 1-2 in there. So you have 1-2 here that we just talked about, and then you have up here is wave 3, okay? This wave 3, from this 2 down here up to this wave 3, it also has a 1-2 in it. And this actually is labeled A and B right now because that's our alternate count, and I'll get into that in a minute Just kind of ignore that A, B, and imagine it's also a 1, 2. And you draw from the low up to the high and then down to the low. And you get this pivot where I have this box right here, okay? And that's the 46.6550 to 46.76 area. And so when we got up to 46.77, I said, well, it's the bottom of this pivot and it's the top of this pivot, so it's going to be a very strong confluence there. It's going to be hard for them to push through, and it was. But I also know that we have strong support here now, so this becomes support because we moved through it. As we were moving up today, our support moved up, okay? And now as we push through this pivot, our support moves up to this pivot, okay? I hope you're following with me. With each pivot that we push through, that now becomes our support, and we continue to move it up through the process. So now we are in the major market pivot. As you can see, it was 46.77 essentially up to 47.14, and we're at 46.93, which was our minimum target at the 1.0. Okay, so let's talk about the bullish count. I hope that helped with pivots, by the way, and understanding how we establish support zones. Because listen, if we pull back and we break this support at 46.65, then you should be out of your trade if you're long, because this is key support. We should not be breaking back below this level. Okay, so this helps us establish stops. It helps us establish our support zone so that we know pullbacks should hold above 46.65. Okay, so as we're tracking this bullish count, they took the more direct route, and this was the 1-2, okay, the shallower 1-2 that we had, and now they're pushing up, and they're in that major pivot. So everything is going according to schedule for the bulls right now. Now, it can push higher to the 1-2-3-6 extension at 47.10. I don't think it's going to push all the way through the pivot, to be quite honest with you, on the first try. Like I said, that doesn't usually happen. But once we're above this 47.13 area, we can get in a trade, set our stops at 46.76.75, and trade on out for the rest of this wave 3, which should target about 48.50. So what we're looking for tomorrow, guys, is a bit of a pullback before more action higher. Otherwise, the bears can take control back. So when you hit the 1.0 extension, if you pull back off of that, okay, it's very common to hit this 618 retrace because that is the 382 off of that 1.0. So the bottom of the support box is generally the target. If they push up to the 236, okay, they tend to hit the 764 as support, pull back to that, and then push higher. But we have key parameters now. We have our support box here, as you can see. We are in the major market pivot. I would expect possibly a push higher to 46.10 or 47.10, and then a pullback, but a pullback nonetheless toward or in this support box, depending on how high they push it. If it breaks below this support box, then we have to look at the bearish count, which is the triangle we talked about yesterday. If you're new to the channel, remember I talk about the SPX did not go get this high. It happened after hours, so this triangle comes off an SPX setup, off the cash market, and not the futures market, which we're looking at now. So the triangle would be topping out in this area as well. So the pullback will be very important to hold this zone. If they can't hold this 46.65 zone and they come down through it, then it's very likely we're heading down in E towards that 45.50 area to complete larger wave 4. So that's really what we're watching tomorrow, guys, is does this push up at all? If it does, we're looking towards the top of the support box for support. If it stays here at the 1.0 and pulls back, then we're looking toward the bottom of the support box for support. I would put my stop just a little bit under in case they poke below it like they did here, just a little poke below and then through. So maybe at 46.60 you could put your stop if you're long. But that's what we're looking for, is a pullback that holds support and moves higher. If support breaks, then we're back in that triangle. Guys, if you like the information I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to get in my Facebook group. There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link, and it will take you over to Facebook. Now, you do have to get approved to get into my group, but the only thing I ask is that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button down below. Come on over to Facebook, and I'll get you in. To get the most out of the group, hit this featured tab right here in the middle. Scroll down, and you'll see a link to my documented trades. This is everything we've traded on the channel since it started. Scroll down just a little bit further, and you'll see a link to my Slack channel. Now, Slack is just a free chat channel, and I'm on there all day giving real-time market updates, answering all of your questions, as well as giving out my buy and sell alerts. It's a great group of traders from the very beginner to the very expert, and it's a great place to learn or improve your trading. So come on over, guys. Let's make some money together. Okay, guys, key takeaways for today. We're watching to see if they can push this higher up to the 46 or 47.10 area before pulling back, or if they're going to stay at the 1.0 and pull back. If they do break out to the upside directly through the major market pivot, okay, and break through this 47.1350 area, you can get long there and set your stops at the 618 of the major market pivot, which is the 46.7675 area. Again, put it just a few points below that, maybe 46.73 or 46.70, so that you can avoid a poke down, and set that as your stop. Okay, so if they push up through the 764 here directly, then you can get long, looking for about 48.50 overall, and have your stop set just below the support zone at 46.77. Now, if they pull back and fail, okay, if this 46.65 area fails and the pullback, then it's much more likely we're in this triangle and we're heading down in E towards this 45.50 area. To all of you out there, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, have a wonderful, safe, healthy, happy holiday weekend. I will not be in on Monday, no video on Monday. I will be back on Tuesday. All right, guys, Merry Christmas. I will talk to you next week.